just sitting here alone means a lot to me. I do really appreciate it. With that being said, it's not the first time you let me teach something. However, last time it was to people who were unfamiliar with practice. And then today where I'm in front of two senseis, some friends, and some peers. So it's a little bit different, but I think everybody here will get something out of what's going to be talked about. So um, yeah, so the Heart Sutra, for those of you not familiar with it, it's an ancient text found in Eastern philosophy. It's probably the most important text in all of Zen Buddhism. And when Sensei Michael first asked me to teach the class, actually, I wanted to do a trickier text. And he recommended the Heart Sutra. And although I had some choice in the matter, it seemed kind of like a basic text to me. But I found out shortly after that that was far from the truth. It's something that I've read over the last years and years and years. And when I read it in the early 2000s, I thought right away, okay, I understand kind of what's going on here. But it turned out I didn't understand it at all then. And then as time went on, I have read it and thought maybe I understood a little bit more. And when it came time to doing the research to teach this, it turns out I didn't know anything about it. So, which is a good thing, because to me, it was something that I needed to, penetrate more profoundly than I had. So the ironic part is the more that I tried to analyze the Heart Sutra, especially the line form is emptiness, emptiness is form, the more it seemed like I was just chasing my own shadow. It really wasn't until directly experiencing what some of these teachings are pointing to and kind of dropping that conditioned mind that it seemed to land much easier. And I think that's what the Heart Sutra as a whole is trying to tell us what to do. Stop grasping with the analytical mind and just let things be as they are. Now, the Heart Sutra is Zen's clearest look at non-duality. And when we speak of non-duality, we're not describing a concept. We're pointing to the nature of reality itself, and so is the Heart Sutra. Now, those of you who don't know, non-duality means not two. It is the recognition that the world isn't split between subject and object, self and other, sacred and ordinary. These divisions only exist in the mind that names, labels, and grasps. In truth, there is just this. It's just one seamless field of being. The seer and the seen, the sound and the hearing, the breath and the breather all arise together, interdependent and inseparable. And the Heart Sutra is the pure expression of this. It's not a philosophy, it's a mirror. And it shows us that form is emptiness and emptiness is form. And the world of 10,000 things is not apart from the vast silence that holds it. Non-duality isn't something to understand. It's what's already here when understanding falls away. And that's the trap that I fell into, trying to understand. So as we embark on this journey, I invite you not to try so hard to understand that you miss what's right in front of you, and let this land in the heart. And that's where we should try and understand it from. Science tells us that the heart actually has 40,000 neurons. And that's just something I happened to hear a couple weeks ago. And I just thought neurons are mostly in the brain. But the heart in itself is actually like a little brain that's inside the chest. It senses, it remembers, communicates in ways we're only beginning to understand. But Buddhism actually knew this a long time ago. In Japanese, the word shin means both heart and mind. They're not two. What we call thinking and what we call feeling are movements of the same field of awareness. And when the Heart Sutra speaks of wisdom beyond wisdom, or prajnaparamita, it's not pointing to intellect. It's the knowing that comes from the open heart mind, the heart that sees clearly without fear. Now, when the shin rests deeply, it settles into the hara. This is the center of gravity that's just below the navel. In Zen experience, hara is not something to believe in. It's something to realize. When attention drops from the head into the hara, the boundary between me and the world softens. Breathing becomes effortless. The mind quiets. From that grounded place, insight doesn't come from thinking. It rises on its own, like still water reflecting the moon. Physically, the hara corresponds roughly to that lower part of the abdomen region, right around or just below the navel. It contains the enteric nervous system, which has 100 million neurons woven through the gut, more than even the spinal cord. It's why we feel truth in our gut before we can explain it. When you're calm and centered, that network literally synchronizes with the heart and the brain rhythms. The Heart Math Institute has been studying that for years. So if you're familiar with them and their heart-brain coherence, this isn't just woo-woo, this is supported by science. Here, thought, feeling, and the body are no longer separate. Breath moves freely, energy flows, and awareness becomes grounded and whole. So when we chant the Heart Sutra, we're not reciting philosophy. We're letting the sound vibrate through the heart, through the hara, through the whole body. It's not about understanding the sutra, but by embodying it. Alive, breathing, empty and full all at once. So what is this 4-week transformative journey really about? And I do truly mean that it's transformative. If you look at this class with a beginner's mind, not as someone who has chanted this hundreds of times or read it dozens of times, but with fresh eyes, there will be transformation you can feel right here. This is the heart. This is the very heart of the Buddhist message. It's a short sutra. It's barely a page. And yet it's vast beyond words. We're not meant to grasp it with the mind. It lands somewhere deeper, beyond the conditioned mind, beyond the one who's trying to understand. At its core, the Heart Sutra is about emptiness. When we hear that word, it can sound bleak, like a void or a hole. But that's not it. Empty means nothing stands alone. No person, no thing, no thought exists by itself. Everything leans on everything else. The body is empty of being a separate fixed self. This thought is empty of permanence. Even suffering is empty. It depends on causes and conditions. And here's the paradox. Emptiness can't exist without form. Form is the doorway. When you look deeply, you don't find emptiness as an object. Emptiness is not what you find. It's what finds you when you stop looking. Now, on one of my many days of preparing for this and trying to decipher how emptiness and form were the same, I stopped on a hike and I was overlooking a lake. And I've been reciting those simple lines over and over. Emptiness is form, form is emptiness. And I was just trying to hit it right in the core. And when I stopped trying to do anything, the seer was just seeing. And that's all that was happening. And I wrote a short little poem about it as I was looking out over the beautiful lake. And it's, I see no clouds, no lake, no birds, no thing to hear, no cicada, no chirr. It was simply the scene, just seeing. Emptiness isn't about denial. It's the most intimate description of reality as it is, empty yet full, dependent yet complete. When I say empty, I'm not pointing at nothing, but to the way things are before the conditioned mind tells us what they are. The Heart Sutra is a pointing. It doesn't give you beliefs, it just shows you things as they are. This is direct reality. So in this 4-week journey, tonight's class is mostly about, who's in the Heart Sutra? What's the title? And maybe some things we're going to get into later on. So in regard to the title, The full title is the Great Heart of Wisdom Sutra. It's also known as the Maha Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. I just butchered that word, don't tell anyone. Maha means great, not size, but vastness. It's boundless, it's free of division. And prajna means wisdom. If you take the word pra, before, and jna, to know, that's the wisdom before knowledge. It's not intellect, but awareness that sees clearly. It is the wisdom that appears when all forms of identification drop away. Paramita means gone beyond. Now, that's not flawless perfection, but crossing to the other shore, and yet the other shore was never separate. The one who tries to cross, that's the illusion. And then heart. This is the core, it's the essence, it's the vibrating, center of being. Or as said earlier, for the Japanese, it's shin, it's the heart mind. Here, form and emptiness, this is where they meet. And then sutra. Well, sutra means kind of what it sounds, right? It sounds like a thread or a suture. And this is a weaving, it's a stitching of form and formlessness. Now, in some of the earlier translations, this text wasn't even called a sutra. It was actually called a dharani. And a dharani is a mantra-like chant meant for practice, much like what we can find in the sutra book. And that's also why it ends with a mantra. This is a minor history on the Heart Sutra. It's actually part of Prajnaparamita literature, and that's the perfection wisdom texts. They appeared around 100 BCE. Some of them were 8,000, some 25,000, or some even 100,000 lines. Luckily, we're going to go over the shorter one because I think 100,000 lines might be a little bit more than 4 weeks. But they're all circling the same truth, that things are empty of inherent nature, interdependent beyond grasping. And then something remarkable happened, right? The ocean of words condensed into a single drop. This became a sutra that was so short you could memorize it, yet so complete that it carried the weight of the full teaching. Scholars like Red Pine note that the oldest versions were compiled actually in Chinese, not Sanskrit. So this suggests it was likely compiled in China by monks who drew from the longer Paramita Sutras. Unlike many early sutras that begin something along the lines of, "Thus have I heard," which would indicate it came directly from the Buddha, this one likely arose a little bit later, distilled from the Buddha's broader teachings, yet has been carried forward for centuries, recognized for its profound clarity. So who's the author? We're not sure. But that's okay, right? So it actually reflects one of the Buddhist own principles, which is the four reliances. So when we look at this text, we can ask ourselves, do these meet the four reliances, right? So should we rely on the Dharma and not the teacher? It meets that. Relying on the meaning, not just the words. It crosses that. Rely on the truth, not the convention. Again. And rely on direct wisdom, not secondhand knowledge. So this piece has been looked at over and over and over and has met all those criteria and then some, because the message is so clear, it's so pure. The Heart Sutra survives not because of who wrote it, but because it works. It dismantles what we cling to and leaves us face to face with what is. So there's two schools I'd like to talk about real quick, and it's the Yogacara. Here's another word I'm going to butcher, the Madhyamika. Okay, these are early Chinese chants. Zen's ancestors were actually shaped by two Mahayana streams, both of those schools. And they taught, or Madhyamika taught radical emptiness, that nothing has independent essence. And then Yogacara taught the mind-only school, which emphasized that what we call the world is inseparable from consciousness itself. So Zen inherited both. From Madhyamika, it got the relentless cutting away of illusion. And from the Yogacara school, it got the recognition that reality is always directly present, inseparable from awareness. So when we chant the Heart Sutra, we're standing where two rivers become one river Zen. So longer versions of this sutra, the scene opens up on Vulture Peak, and the Buddha's present. And he's sitting deeply in Prajnaparamita, or a very deep samadhi, and while the great Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara abides in perfect wisdom. Shariputra, foremost in wisdom among his disciples, turns to the Buddha for guidance. But the Buddha remains silent, and instead Avalokiteshvara speaks, offering the teaching directly to Shariputra. It is a beautiful moment, right? We have wisdom addressing wisdom, form speaking to form, the Buddha's silence in the backdrop, the stillness in which the entire sutra unfolds. From that silence comes the sound that we now chant. It's the sound of emptiness realizing itself. Now, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva is the embodiment of boundless compassion. The name literally means the one who hears the cries of the world. In Chinese, Guanyin, in Japanese, Kannon. There's different names, but one presence, compassion that listens deeply. In the Heart Sutra, Avalokiteshvara sits in the profound being, abiding in Prajnaparamita, the perfection of wisdom. This isn't compassion as an emotion or a sentiment. It's compassion born of wisdom. When great wisdom is present, compassion is natural, because the illusion of separation has fallen away. Let me repeat that again. When wisdom is present, compassion is natural, because the illusion of separation has fallen away. So to practice the Prajnaparamita is to rest in our direct being, our essential nature, just this, before thought divides it. It's not so different from samadhi, that deep collected stillness where doing drops away and only being remains. When sitting is just sitting, when sound is just sound, when nothing needs to be added, that's Prajnaparamita. From this stillness, Avalokiteshvara turns to Shariputra, wisdom calling to wisdom, emptiness giving a voice to itself. So who's Shariputra? Well, he's one of the Buddha's closest disciples, renowned for his sharp analytic wisdom. And if anybody could dissect reality with a scalpel of intellect, it was him. So why does Avalokiteshvara speak to him? Because much like I learned when I was trying to do this, is that the Heart Sutra is not about analysis. It's about directly seeing. It's the meeting of wisdom and compassion, intellect and insight, head and heart. And Shariputra represents the mind that wants to understand, the brilliant searching mind trying to grasp truth through thought. Avalokiteshvara embodies the seeing that needs no grasping, compassion that arises naturally when wisdom is alive. So when I said earlier in this talk is that we should try and let the sutra land beyond the mind, because if we try and grasp it too intellectually, it just moves further from the point that it's trying to make. This moment is the turning point, right? The old way of knowing meets the new way of being. Wisdom and compassion bow to each other, and from that stillness, Avalokiteshvara begins to speak. So the teaching, right? So this is, at least to me, some words that could just stop us completely cold, and that's form is emptiness, emptiness is form. And we're going to dive into this deeper as weeks come, but at first this might even seem like complete nonsense, and yet if you sit with it, it does ring true. Form, the material world, emptiness, not nothing, but no thingness. The ground from which form appears. This body, this world. Another teacher in the Vedanta school once said, when the world is real, the self does not appear. Or similarly put, when things are simply as they are, no separate I arises to claim them. This is not philosophy. It's a mirror, and if You let it in, it unravels the very idea of a separate self. So in Mahayana thought, there's something called the three kayas, and this insight is sometimes expressed as the three bodies of the Buddha, right? So you have the Dharmakaya, which is the body of reality itself, emptiness, boundless and formless. Don't worry, I didn't go off the rails while you're gone. Hoenn kept me in check. Yes. The Shambhogakaya, which is the body of bliss or enjoyment. It's the radiant expression of awakening. And then you have the Nirmanakaya, which is the body of transformation, the everyday form appearing in this very world. And the Heart Sutra resonates with all three. The Dharmakaya is emptiness itself, the Shambhogakaya is wisdom and compassion shining forth, and the Nirmanakaya is Avalokiteshvara appearing in human form, speaking to Shariputra. These are not separate realms, but one seamless reality seen from different facets. And then comes the ending, right? There's a mantra at the end. It ends, of course, with a mantra spoken like a Dharani. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gone, gone, gone beyond. Utterly gone beyond, or completely gone. Awakening, so it is. It's not a spell. It's a sigh of freedom. A cry of realization, the song that the heart has let go. And we want to hold on to everything. But when we let go of things, then we're free. That's liberation. The Heart Sutra is not for study alone, it's for practice. For chanting until words dissolve into silence. For sitting until self and other blur. For living so fully in this moment that nothing stands apart. Simply to rest in being as being. And at first you think meditation will take you somewhere. It doesn't. It actually takes you nowhere. And that's exactly where we want to be. We don't chant this sutra to understand. We chant it to let it echo in the marrow, to let it strip away the stories we cling to. Because form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Things as they are. Nothing left to add. Just this.